This episode is sponsored by First Fidelity Reserve. Call 800-336-1630 and get your free precious metals guide today.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rebecca Weber. You're watching Better for America, presented by AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. Now, joining me now is the great former Deputy Assistant to President Trump, host of America First, and AMAC's good friend and writer, contributor to AMAC.us, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Welcome back to the show.
It's been too long. Thank you, Rebecca. Always so much fun.
Always a great time. And Dr. Gorka, I was really looking forward to our time together. We have so much to discuss. But before we dive in, I want to remind our members that they can find your great articles on our website at amac.us. I want to encourage everyone to make sure that you download the AMAC News app for easy access. But two of your recent articles, these were written over the last few months, really caught my eye. Everyone is paying attention and sees how President Trump is being brutally targeted, really for his political beliefs. Now, you wrote about this in one of your articles entitled Trump, the Dissident President. And then another great piece of yours was the real reason they all hate Trump. As Deputy Assistant to the President, you really had an inside view. I think most people don't have your perspective. Tell us how much the establishment really hates Donald Trump and what motivates them to continue to this very day to target, spew hatred, do everything essentially in their power to take him down.
Well, it's very simple. How much do they hate him? He's facing 730 years in prison. That's how much they hate him. Why? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, nobody owns my former boss. He is a threat to all of the swamp interests here in Washington, D.C. He's not owned by the unions, like Democrat politicians. He's not owned by Big Pharma, the oil industry, the military-industrial complex. He is his own man. As such, he's a threat to the vested interests that do not represent the interests of the American people. He cannot be controlled by the swamp. And then there's a more philosophical thing that we have to truly grapple with. And this isn't uniquely American. It's in many parts of Judeo-Christian civilization. We are living, Rebecca, in really a very perverse age when the elites of our countries, if they're left-wing, like the Democrat Party, if they're socialists elsewhere, they really detest their own countries. We have people in power who hate their own civilization and hate their own countries. It's not a rhetorical flourish of hyperbole. Ask yourself one very simple question. If your goal were to destroy America, what would you have done differently in the last 3.5 years in comparison to what Joe Biden has done? You'd shut down fracking. You'd make it impossible for America to be energy independent. You'd open our borders, letting millions of illegals in. You'd be soft on crime, so much so that a Venezuelan illegal who's let in by Biden is arrested in New York. Alvin Bragg releases him, and then he murders that beautiful 22-year-old nursing student, Laken Riley, in Georgia just a few days later. You're on the side of those who hate the values upon which America was created. So that's the most important reason for why they hate him, because there's one thing that is undeniable about President Trump. He loves America. That's why you saw that imagery, that incredible video from the president visiting that bodega in Harlem. And then afterwards, I posted it as soon as I saw it on all my social media feeds. These young kids, 10, 11 years old, a black boy, a white girl, screaming, "We love you, Trump." And then the little girl starts the "We love you, Trump" chant. This is in Harlem. Why do they love him? Because he loves America. And if you hate America, if you're on the side of our enemies, like Iran, like China, you're going to try and do everything in your power to put President Trump in prison or worse.
Yeah. I mean, people are certainly going to have a choice this November, and I think the difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden couldn't really be more antithetical. Katie Couric recently demonstrated how the left thinks, Dr. Gorka. She demonstrated how Joe Biden supporters think by attacking swaths of people, millions, labeling us as extremists. Take a listen to this clip from Katie Couric.
And I feel like, to your point, Bill, the socioeconomic disparities are a lot, and class resentment is a lot, and anti-intellectualism and elitism is what is driving many of these anti-establishment, which are Trump voters, or anti-establishment voters. So I think that is a huge problem that we have to address. I mean, globalization and, the transition from an industrial to a technological society. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been jealous of what someone else has or resentful. It is such a corroding and bitter, almost bile feeling.
Right.
Dr. Gorka, I just want to say this. You and I are two very different people. We have two very different backgrounds. Just for our listeners, you were born in Great Britain, to parents who escaped communism. I grew up in suburban Long Island, New York, never really left Long Island until I was 20 years old. After coming to America, you were in the Defense Department instructor, teaching at the National Defense University. I learned from my father in a small family business. You have a doctorate in political science from Corvinus University in Budapest. I have a 2-year degree from a local community college here and stuck with the family. I was a mother at age 20. I went to the school of hard knocks, I would call that, and was raising a family at a young age. You were doing other things, very, very highly educated. And of course, you go on to, you've briefed the CIA, the DIA, the U.S. Navy SEALs. You and I are very, very different, yet you and I, we can think for ourselves. We can discern. We can see through the fake news. We can apply common sense. We have so much in common, more in common than we are different. How dangerous is it when people like Katie Couric go out there and say, all of you who are voting for Joe Biden, we're going to label you as this. This is something that Trump never does. What are your thoughts?
Well, I recommend to Ms. Couric that she looks up the name Marie Antoinette. I mean, she is a modern-day Marie Antoinette. Let them eat cake. I mean, whether it's her, whether it's the 3 women on Super Tuesday on CNN, former White House press secretary Jen Psaki, Rachel Maddow, and that famous homophobe Joy Reid, and they're laughing. They're looking at the results, the overwhelming success of President Trump, and they're looking at the exit polls in Virginia, and then one of them says, I don't get it. All these Trump voters say their number one issue is illegal immigration, and they live in Virginia. And then Jen Psaki says, I live in Virginia. I don't understand it. And then one of them says, Rachel Maddow says, well, maybe it's because Virginia has a border with West Virginia. And they all start giggling. It's like, how much derision, how much hatred can you have of the American people? When you see Americans losing their lives at the hands of illegals, when you see schools in New York having the children turfed out of the school so illegals can move in and live in the school, the public school, and then you laugh and say, well, I don't understand. Why do they have issues with illegal immigrants? This is, I mean, that clip you just played is the quintessence of the modern left. The Democrat Party, like all left-wing parties, like Labour in the UK, is supposed to be what? It's supposed to be a party of the little guy, of the working class, of minorities. Today, the Democrat Party is a party of the white elite. It's the people who went to Harvard and Yale, who, if you ask them to change a tire on a car, they'd have to call AAA, or their chauffeur would have to do it for them. They have no idea what it means to actually build something, to make something, or to come home from work covered in dirt with calluses on your hands. They have no idea what a 100% increase in the price of gasoline means to a plumber, means to a carpenter who drives 100, 200 miles a day in his F-150 that's, 12 years old. They have no comprehension of what it means to be an actual American who builds things and runs America. And look, God bless them, because if they carry on talking like that, in front of scumbags like Bill Maher, who likewise just said, literally just said, yeah, you know, the Democrats, abortion, they have to admit, it is murder, it's killing a baby, but I'm fine with that because there's too many human beings on planet Earth. This is sick. Yes, it is sick. It's psychotic. It's the devil's work. These people hate the American working class, and as such, this is the great irony of the age. They're going to vote in overwhelming numbers for the billionaire from New York who was my former boss. These people are so out of touch. It's like it's become a parody, Rebecca.
That's exactly right. Out of touch. They live in a bubble. You know, I just love a recent article that we published in the AMAC magazine in people's mailbox last week, Trump's Secret Sauce. And what I love about Donald Trump is if you mess with him or stand against American values, no one's going to retaliate more fiercely. But no matter how great the struggle, Trump always points his wrath to individual targets. He doesn't go after groups.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, a secret to his success, is he will target that individual, written, by the way, by Ed Martin, one of our great writers here at AMAC. Now, I'm just curious, in your view, what do you think is some of the secret sauce that really is, what is it about Trump that makes him capable of achieving things that nobody else, I think, could? You know, I tried to ask this question to him himself. He said, I believe in family, and I believe in that, and I believe in love of our country. But so many of us do. What do you think gives him this courage to, or strength, I call it, to deal with attack after attack after attack?
Well, look, Ed's absolutely right. I don't know where he gets it from. Look, I've got an excuse, and I've said this, as you so kindly mentioned. I have to do what I do, and I have to fight for America, the land that I chose to be a citizen of. Why? Because of the baggage I bring to the table. What's my baggage? The fact that my parents lived as children under fascism and then were persecuted under communism. My father was arrested and tortured by communist secret police. He was liberated from a political prison at the age of 26. That's what I bring to the table. I can't do anything but fight for liberty, because otherwise I would be besmirching the inheritance and legacy of my parents. Now, President Trump doesn't have that background. His first wife did grow up under communism, as did Melania. So maybe it's the stories he heard from Ivana and from Melania, maybe. But I think it's something genetic with him. I don't know what it is. The German, Scots, Irish background, I have no comprehension, because to me it's truly stunning. I was there at Mar-a-Lago, November of 2022, when he launched his re-election campaign. And look, I'm not new to Mar-a-Lago. I'm not new to President Trump. I worked for him. You know, there were times when just the two of us were in the Oval Office. So, you know, I knew the man as much as, you know, anybody who worked for him does. But despite that, I'm standing there in the ballroom, listening to his speech, which every one of your AMAC viewers and listeners needs to go back and watch. It's one of his shortest, one of his best speeches when he launched his re-election campaign. And halfway through, Rebecca, it was like a gut punch. And I said to myself, dear Lord, what is this man doing? 4 years of being calumniated, smeared, being called a racist, a bigot, a misogynist, an Islamophobe, anti-Semite, and then a Nazi, a literal Nazi, by the cable news networks, losing at least $1 billion from his net worth, not taking a paycheck, witnessing his wife, his sons be attacked by the media, and he's prepared to do it again. What is wrong with this man? And it's very clear what's wrong with this man. He loves America more than he loves himself. And that's a big thing to say, because never let it be said that this man has a small ego. But he loves America more than his personal status in the world. There's no other reason. I mean, the fact that this week, what did that lunatic left-wing judge, Judge Juan Merchan, say in the court? If you dare, Donald Trump, go to your son's high school graduation, I'm going to put you in prison for contempt of court. I mean, this is what the man is facing right now. Well, his high school son's graduation. So I don't know where it comes from, but to answer the question from Ed's article, the secret source is people see that. The great irony of President Trump is he rose to the highest level, the highest position in the land, the first time he ran for the presidency. He served for 4 years, and he is still not deemed to be a politician by the American people. I mean, that's his secret source. He's seen to be what? A patriot who wants to save America again. Maybe that's one of his most important secret ingredients.
Yes, and he is different. He's different from anybody we've seen come before him, and he's different from both those, the establishment, right, and of course, very different from the left. You know, but AMAC members, they are so fed up with people like Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. He has not been held accountable. People care about what's happening here in America. AMAC members do, not so much about Ukraine, but what's happening here in their backyard. And Bragg's, you know, these far left policies, he's not prosecuting certain crimes. He's reducing felony charges. We've seen him do that. He's releasing violent criminals without bail, dramatically reducing prison time for all crimes. You know, and I read that he, I guess in his first year, he downgraded more than half of all felony cases to misdemeanors. This is insane. Now, his indictment of Trump stands as just his latest abuse. I mean, of course, we lost this wonderful police officer, of course, because of Bragg's decision to release violent criminals out on the streets. But this indictment against Trump, people are really fed up that Congress isn't doing more. In your view, is there anything that Congress could be doing or should be doing to act? Because, you know, I know that there's a lot of talk about we've got to get money to Ukraine and, you know, we've got to secure the border and all of that. But I say the Democrats going against their chief political rival, in my view, is probably the most dangerous thing that we see happening here, because if it can happen to him, it can happen to you, it can happen to me. What should we be doing? Can Congress act here? Or can the oversight committees hold more accountability?
Well, first things first, let's just remember what preceded the murder of Officer Jonathan Dillon. The man who killed him in that traffic stop a few weeks ago had been arrested 21 times. 21 times. When he's on the street. That's not Republican district attorneys. That's the likes of Alvin Bragg. That's the likes of other Soros-funded DAs who are on the side of the criminals, especially if they're black. I mean, this is a core tenet of critical race theory. If you're black, the justice system is set against you and it's oppressive. Therefore, the justice system must let you go, must be lenient towards you. I mean, look at those illegal immigrants who on camera, beat up 2 NYPD officers. Less than 5 hours later, they're released on their own recognizance. And of course, you know, they skip New York. I don't know if it's going to break news, but I'm going to answer your second question very bluntly, Rebecca. Is there something Congress could do? Absolutely. Absolutely. Are they going to? No. I went to a meeting last week at Heritage. We had a whole day seminar on the weaponization of the justice system. We had some very brave FBI whistleblowers there, Garrett O'Boyle, Steve Friend. And in the private dinner afterwards, I listened to people who've been fighting the corruption here in D.C. And what they told me off the record about the gutless cowardice of the GOP, even the chairman of key committees and their staffers who would rather persecute and go after FBI whistleblowers as Republicans than helping them, left me with the conclusion that nothing of any meaning is going to happen. We're what, 8 months into a new speakership, taking over the House, 9 months into a new majority. What has happened with Hunter Biden, with Joe Biden, with Mayorkas? It's risible. Right. It's worse than that. It's pathetic. So I'm going to be very clear. Nothing is going to change unless President Trump is back in the White House. Lara Trump truly cleans up the RNC. And the MAGA elements, the America First elements of the Republican Party just turf out the rhinos and primary them into the dust. That's what it's going to take, sadly.
You know, and meanwhile, people sitting by watching more and more people enter this country illegally. That's definitely contributing to increased crime. Our cities are crumbling. Our kids are being indoctrinated in schools. You know, we've got this war in Ukraine. And then, of course, Israel. And I want to talk a little bit about Israel, which you've written so much about. Again, people can find those articles on amac.us. Trump was a clear friend to Israel during his time in office, but he recently gave an interesting suggestion, I thought, to Prime Minister Netanyahu during a sit-down interview. Take a quick listen here.
That being said, you have to finish up your war. You have to finish it up. You got to get it done. And I'm sure you'll do that. Then we got to get to peace. You can't have this going on. And I will say Israel has to be very careful because you're losing a lot of the world. You're losing a lot of support. But you have to finish up. You have to get the job done. And you have to get on to peace. You have to get on to a normal life for Israel and for everybody else.
Dr. Gorka, do you agree with the president here? Give us your take on the current outlook in the Middle East.
Well, again, let's be brutally honest about October the 7th, why it happened, and whether or not it can be solved. October the 7th was the greatest loss of life, slaughter of the innocents is what I call it, since 1945 and the Shoah, since the Holocaust. 1,300 men, women, and children massacred. I've seen the 45-minute unedited body cams of Hamas and what they did. I've seen the women murdered. I've seen the men beheaded on camera. I've seen little boys with their eyes blown out by grenades that are thrown into their homes by grown men who are laughing about it. So it has to be understood not as a political issue and not as a military issue. This has to be understood as a civilizational issue. This is Judeo-Christian civilization versus the barbarians, the savages, and those who are in league with the devil. I mean, when you do what they did to children that I witnessed with my own eyes, you are working for the Dark One. And these individuals must be crushed. The people responsible for October 7th must be killed, and then the earth salted above where they are killed. There will be no political solution to this because you read all the polling about the population of Gaza that raises their children to hate the Jews. And you see the figures that upwards of 78, 79, 80% of the population of Gaza support what Hamas did on October 7th. So it's not enough to, kill the people who did it. You can't solve this. Israel has to have security, has to take control of Gaza. And I think it's rather telling that the Arab states of the nation don't want the Gazans. Egypt has a very effective border with Gaza. It is very telling that nations of the region, Jordan and others, assisted Israel in their defense against the historic direct attack by Iran last weekend with hundreds of drones and cruise missiles. Arab nations helped the Jewish state. So that tells you what you need to know about the people who live in Gaza and the West Bank. At the end of the day, I've been to Israel many times. I took 350 of my listeners there a year ago. The good thing about Israel, after the Holocaust, after the last 2,000 years of persecution, they will do what needs to be done. It's nice if we could help them, and that's why another reason we need President Trump back, because we had 4 years of peace in the world under President Trump. But rest assured, whether it's Bibi Netanyahu or somebody else, that tiny, tiny Lilliputian nation, which is a nuclear nation, will do whatever needs to be done to save its citizens. So let's just keep Israel in our prayers and make sure that President Trump is back in the White House for January 20th next year.
That's right. Well, I do certainly pray that each and every day. I don't think that this would have happened under a Trump leadership, a Trump president. We just see things getting worse and worse under this horrible administration, Joe Biden's administration. And it's fascinating to even see how it could get worse. It's just a joy to have you here with me, sir. Before you I let you go, curious to get your take on what you're seeing into the future. I mean, the presidential election is a short, 6 months away. It seems that Trump is gaining more and more support, getting stronger and stronger, while Biden is trending downward. What are you thinking about the general election as things currently stand?
Well, if the election were today, President Trump would have a massive blowout victory. Might even be like a Mondale 49-state blowout victory. However, that would only be the case if we had a free and fair election. And of course, the election is more than half a year away. And in politics, 6 months is a very, very long time. And the fact is, the other side want to have him in prison or worse. And that's the reality of what the Democrat Party have become. All I will say is the following. I won't make any predictions because people are never kept to their predictions. People aren't challenged. 6 months later, you said this, Dr. Gorka. Well, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is make a plea to everyone out there. My wife, Katie, who I've said for a decade needs to be in politics because her demeanor is far nicer than mine and she would be a great politician, has told me for years, no, that's insane. I hate politics. In the last 3 years, as a result of what she's witnessed under Biden, she ran for the local community center board after the local library had a drag queen story hour for toddlers. Second time round, she won her election with 2 other brave women. Then she became the chief election officer for our district of Northern Virginia. And just 10 days ago, she ran for the chair of the biggest county in Virginia, over 1.2 million people, and she's now the GOP chair of Fairfax County. If my wife, Katie Gorka, who utterly detests politics, can do that, I have a very simple question to all of your listeners, all of your members, all of your readers. What on God's green earth are you doing to save America? It's not enough to be a member of AMAC and to listen to my radio show or your podcast. If you're not actually politically engaged, if you're not registering voters, knocking on doors, running for the local school board, you are actually working for the other side who are destroying America. I hate to be so brutal about it, but it's very simple. When one party is trying to dismantle America, from our borders to the indoctrination in the schools to the mutilation of children under their transgender cult, you have no option but to get engaged. So my request for you is, if you love America, if you miss what it was like under the Trump years, I don't care who you are, what your educational background is, how old you are, you must be politically engaged. Otherwise it's lost.
Otherwise, it's lost. Well, we absolutely adore your wife. We're so blessed that we've got folks just like her, part of the AMAC family out there doing great work. Congratulations. Give her our very, very best. Dr. Gorka, as always, it's an honor to have you with me here today, and I can't wait to be on your show soon and have you back again with us real soon.
Thank you, Rebecca. God bless.
Thank you. And to everyone out there listening, please be sure to renew or join AMAC. Tell your friends and family all about us. We are making headlines. We are making a difference. When we go to Washington and say that we have 2 million people that stand in support of the issues and the values that you care so deeply about, people listen. We need more members. Be sure to join and renew. In the meantime, we'll be back with you shortly with some more great interviews. I'm Rebecca Weber. Thanks again for joining. We'll see you soon.
We are proud to have First Fidelity Reserve as our official bullion and rare coin partner, as they have supported AMAC for over a decade. They are offering our members a free copy of their award-winning Precious Metals Guide to make investing in gold and silver safe and easy for you. Over the past 4 presidential election cycles, gold has trended upward, and this year looks to be the same, as experts estimate gold will gain 25% in 2024. So, don't miss out on $2,500 gold. Call First Fidelity Reserve, 800-336-1630. That's 800-336-1630, and get your free 38-page Precious Metals Guide today.